Okay, so any Nvidia shareholders, you might want to pay attention to this one. So just in, Nvidia CEO just sold another chunk of Nvidia shares. This is his third sale in the last few days. He has now sold $100 million of Nvidia shares in the last few days. Now, this is Jensen Huang. He was the co-founder of Nvidia. He's one of the main reasons why Nvidia is what it is today. He's been with the company since 1993 when it first started. He's the CEO, co-founder, and president. He's a big part of Nvidia, and he owns a large chunk of it as well. He still owns 3.6% of Nvidia stock when it went public in 1999. So look at this. Insider buying versus selling for Nvidia in the last 3 months is $0 in buys, and in sells 276 million of people selling the stock, of insiders, people like CEOs and directors and people who have inside information on how the business is run. They're selling it. They're not buying it up. They're selling. And you can see this in the website Insider Screener. Go on to Nvidia. Let's see. Do we see any green here along this line? This is over the past year for Nvidia. Any green? Anyone buying the stock? No. Everyone's selling. Sell. And look at all of this recent sales here. A lot of this is Jensen Huang. So look at this. Jensen, 180,000, 1.4 million, 1.6 million. So look at all of the selling from Jensen. 1.8 million, and altogether apparently it was $100 million of the stock. So he's selling at September. So he's selling at around a price of $439, $450. Who knows exactly the price, but it's around this price here, which is quite interesting because it's almost the exact opposite of where Cathie Wood decided to sell. Just look at this. So this is where Cathie Wood sold Nvidia with her ARK KKK fund. So just over here, Cathie owned 800,000 shares of Nvidia in ARK before selling it at the bottom in November, causing investors to lose over $300 million in potential profits. So Cathie sold in, actually it was November 2022. So she was selling at around $160, $150, $170 a share. And it's pretty interesting. Like when she did a massive batch of selling, that's when the price shot up. It just shows you, guys, don't try and time the market. And if you go into Cathie's ARK, you can see it. Look, around November, around the end of 2022, she owned a lot of shares, and boom, she sold, I don't know, more than half. Yep, a lot more than half. She went from 1.26 million to 230,000. So she sold most of her shares in Nvidia, and look at how much profit she lost out on. Guys, 195%. Do not try and time the market. That is silly. As you can see, Cathie Wood's ARK dumped Nvidia stock before $560 billion surge. You can't make this up. And it's pretty crazy. Yes, it did go up by $500 billion. Now it's a $1 trillion company. Who would have thought that Nvidia would become a $1 trillion company? Jensen Huang and his team have done an amazing job. And yeah, now it's up there with the likes of Apple. Well, not Apple. Apple's massive, but with the likes of Meta. But let's quickly take a look at Meta stock. What's Meta's market cap? It's even a bigger company than Meta right now. Crazy.
You had Nvidia tripling. Yeah. We bought it at $100 in our flagship last year when it was getting
it was creamed. In a 70% drawdown.
Exactly. Then we saw it on its way to tripling, quadrupling now, since in that short period of time. And we said, well, wait a minute, we'll take profits there. And
yeah, you took profits, but you lost out on a ton of profits, please.
In ARKK, our flagship, our genomics or multi-omics theme was being crushed still.
Yeah.
As were some of our other stocks like Roku and Teladoc and Unity and other names that we think are going to be big beneficiaries of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, you can keep going on with that, Cathie. A lot of your stocks absolutely just were destroyed. I mean, look at ARK, look at her innovation fund. I mean, okay, it was $150, now it's $43, down 72%. So she's been crushed lately, and yeah, The female Warren Buffett. I don't know if she's the female Warren Buffett anymore. Anyway, I want to move on to someone who's, I would consider, a lot more reliable of a figure. Yeah, he actually does some in-depth calculation and some in-depth analyses of stocks. Aswath Damodaran, people call him the Dean of Valuation. So he's a value investor, really looks to put a value on a company and on a stock. What does he think the value of Nvidia is?
Aswath, what is Nvidia worth?
Now, my estimate, it's worth about $240 a share. But I mean, let's start with the good news. I mean, this is an amazing company. It's a company that's managed to find markets just ahead of growth and kind of dominate those markets. Gaming, crypto, AI. At this stage, you've got to view them as an opportunistic company, a company that manages.
I mean, it was already in, I mean, they do chips. Chips were already in gaming. They've been in gaming for a long, long time. They didn't just magically appear in gaming. And yeah, chips were always going to be a big part of AI. So
just to do this over and over again, it's not just lucky. That's the good news. The bad news is when you're pricing Nvidia at $450, $500 per share, you're not just assuming that they will dominate the AI market, even if it's a big market. But there are other markets out there that we don't even know about yet that Nvidia will find a way to dominate. Could that happen? Yes, but I'm not going to pay upfront a premium price on the assumption that they will find markets that are undiscovered and dominate them.
At the same time, though, you're not selling all your Nvidia stock, right?
No. And I think that reflects the mixed feelings I have about the company. I mean, I was lucky enough to get in at the right price. It's made me more than enough money for me to view it as a great investment. But at the same time, there is enough of a tail on the distribution, a chance that they will pull off this, with this exceptional drop that might make them worth 600 or 700. I wouldn't buy them at today's price, but to the extent that you bought them a way back at the right price, and if you have them in your portfolio, I wouldn't argue with you if you said I'm going to let the stock run.
Okay, so he thinks it's got a intrinsic value in Warren Buffett terms, intrinsic value of $240 a share. But he thinks, if Nvidia do things really well, it could run up to $600, $700 a share. So he owns stock. He bought it at a much lower price, and he's just holding on to it. So that's very interesting. It's always good to get a value investor's take on a company because there's so many unreliable figures out there. They will just throw any opinion at you. So it's good to have someone who actually looks at the numbers and, puts a value on the stock. Now, I just want to finish off with this point because a lot of people look at the headlines of the articles and of the YouTube clips where it says that Nvidia's CEO is doing a lot of selling. He is doing a lot of selling, but relatively speaking for him, it's basically nothing. He's a multi-billionaire. Okay, so he sold $100 million of Nvidia stock, but how much does he actually own? He owns 3.5% of Nvidia. That's 86 million shares of Nvidia. So I did the math already. 86 million times Nvidia stock price right now is $440. 86 million times 440. He has about $38 billion in Nvidia stock. So 100 million compared to 38 billion ownership stake is basically nothing. Basically, it's a 380th of what he actually owns is what he sold. So it's 0.03% or whatever it is. It's nothing, Who knows? Maybe he wanted to buy a private jet, a yacht, He's doing billionaire things. I honestly, looking at the headlines, I don't read too much into it because he's not selling a massive stake of his actual ownership in the company.